Would you stand with me, please?
Should nothing of our efforts stand, no legacy survive, unless the Lord does raise the house in vain, its builders strive. To you who boast tomorrow's gain, tell me, what is your life? A mist that vanishes at dawn. All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ, our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ. His will be done, his kingdom come on earth that is above, who is himself our daily bread. Praise him, the Lord of love. Let living water satisfy the thirsty without price. We'll take a cup of kindness, yet all glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ, our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ. When on the day the great I am the faithful and the true, the Lamb who was for sinners slain is making all things new. Behold, our God shall live with us and be our steadfast light, and we shall ere his people be. All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ, our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ, our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ.
Well, I have to start off with something just for Tim, because he told me this every Sunday before he walked out the door if they come to the early service. And he always said one or two things: don't mess up. Oh, thanks, Tim. But he usually said, break a leg. And I will miss him dearly. He's a character. At the life and times of Tim Poteete, the world must have slowed down just for a moment on March 21st, 1958, as E.L. and Irma Poteete gave birth to their son, Timothy Ray Poteete, a.k.a. Timmy. He grew up in the banks of the Arkansas River in the town of Weber Falls, where he graduated high school in 1976. He loved the people and history that flowed so richly through the soul of Arkansas river bottom. And after graduation, Tim attended the Connors Junior College for 2 years before enrolling in his beloved alma mater, Oklahoma State University. And believe me, I'm an OU fan, and Tim never let me forget that. Now, I've got a few things I'll tell you in a minute, but oh, Tim. Even his bachelor's degree in business in 1981, he was a loyal and true, loving not only the Cowboys, but also the Cowgirl. In particular, Julie Mosier, who eventually became his best friend and forever wife. In his words, I chased her until she caught me, and the two became one on June 18, 1983, and he shared 38 years of love and adventure. From 1983 to 1987, Tim worked many odd jobs to allow Julie to pursue her passion of coaching. Then they moved to Weber Falls, and Tim took over the family-owned hit-and-run convenience store. A few years later, Tim bought and ran the local hardware and appliance store until 1992. Then an opportunity arose for him to finally pursue his love of history. In 1994, Tim received his bachelor's degree in history from Northeastern State University and his master's degree in history from University of Arkansas in 1996. Believe it or not, his thesis committee only needed to ask one question in defense of his topic over mules in the military. And if you know Tim, I can only imagine. he's told me that story a number of times, and every time you tell it to me, I always think, "That's Tim, you told me this," and he goes, and I tell him that, and I said, "Well, Tim, you told me." He goes, "I know, but you want to hear it again." I'm like, "Yeah, fair enough, I'll hear it again, Tim." Oh, but Tim and his dad raised many a fine saddle mule. Samson was his favorite. In 1995, God led Tim and Julie back to southwest Oklahoma, and Tim began to work at the Museum of Natural History in Norman. And in 1999, his dream job of being a living history interpreter of the Museum of the Great Plains became a reality. And for the past 22 years, Tim loved spending his days in the trade house of the Holland Coffee Trade Post, sharing a wealth of knowledge to young and old alike. He was a member of the American Mountain Men and made many a lifelong friendship in the organization. But that's certainly no surprise to those who knew Tim, because he liked everyone and showed them respect no matter their station in life. He was a natural storyteller and loved a good joke, especially the OU ones. Yeah, Tim loved Jesus and was a member of the Fletcher Christian Church, where he served as a deacon. He never missed an opportunity to stick his head in the nursery and get the kids stirred up before continuing his walk down the hall. And that is so true. He lived for that moment every Sunday. Tim delivered suckers to numerous kiddos, much to their delight, and truly had a good heart and was so genuine with his words and actions. The world slowed down once again as Tim went to be with Jesus on December 13th, 2021. He will be missed and never forgotten. Tim is survived by his wife Julie of the home, brother Troy Poteete, and his wife Liz of Gore, mother-in-law Mary Ann Mosier of Surreal, brother and sister-in-law Trent and Cindy Mosier of Fletcher, niece Tony Mara and her husband Aaron of Minnesota, nephew Jake Mosier and his wife Kenita of Tuttle, great nieces, nephews Sydney Mosier, Garrett Meyer, Sloan Meyer, and Cameron Mosier, Isaac Mosier, uncles Ken Poteete and his wife Susan of Texas, her Poteete and his wife, Ladima of Weber Falls, and numerous cousins, families, and friends. He is preceded in death by his friends, or his parents, E.L. and Irma Poteete, and his father-in-law, Jack Mosier. In the Museum of the Great Plains, and I don't know who wrote it there, and I apologize for that, but they wrote up a little something on Facebook, and I took a part of that because this was Tim's life. When I come into the picture at church, I thought he did this all his life, and it made sense to me. I was like, that's just what he does. And what, he'd been doing this for 40 years? And he goes, no, about 20 years. He was so gifted at it. But I wanted to include that in here. So Tim arrived at the museum in April 1999, and over the next 22 years, he established himself as a fixture of the Museum of the Great Plains, a public delight in Tim's portrayal of the resident merchant in the museum's replica 1830s fur trading post. His knowledge was vast, and Tim grew very weary of his job, never grew weary of his job, nor failed to interact enthusiastically with the public. I keep laughing because I'm picturing Tim dressed up coming in here, and I've got a story in a minute. He cracks me up still to this day. But to his co-workers, Tim was pleasant, caring, good-natured fellow, quick with a joke and a sly remark, and a person who occasionally leapt from behind this or that corner to promote a little fun. He often laughed genuinely. Oh man, what do you say about a man that truly broke the mold when God made him? And that, me and Amber visited about that last night. What do you say? People say he was a one of a kind, but I've never met another Tim, and I don't think I will. He was special. And I was visiting with my family the other night, and we were on the way home from a ball game, and I was talking to the boys, and I asked them, I said, hey, are you going to the funeral? And yeah, we're going to. And Noah, he said, I remember what the last words he said to me, and I said, what was that? And he goes, your mama may beat you, but your daddy still loves you. I went, yep. Then Jacob goes, last words he said to me was, he pointed at Brandon's feet and went, shoo-wee, which he did all the time, because Brandon, he doesn't wear shoes in the church. Then Levi, my youngest, talking to him later, he said, which one was Tim? I said, Tim was the one that he teased you. He goes, is he the one that rubbed my hair every time I come in the church? Yeah, that's him. He goes, I'm going to miss him. I liked him. I'm like, yeah, he's special. He always told me, he said, Herman, you know you can't cover up ugly, so just shave the beard. I'm like, that man, he told me I was ugly almost every Sunday. And I'm like, and I took it. I just smiled at him. I'm like, oh, yeah, he was something. he told me one day, or he's messing with the little kids out here, which he did every Sunday. But one of them started crying. I said, see, there you go, Tim, making the kids cry. And he goes, no, it's your ugly face, Herman. He goes, I told you to come shave that off and make it look better. Melissa, how do you put up with them? Like, oh, yeah. So he goes down the hall, like I say, every Sunday. And I said, Tim, what are you doing? He was terrorizing the kids. What do you think? Fair enough, Kim. He always looked at Melissa, and he'd go, Boomer Sooner. He just, oh. I don't think a Sunday went by without him asking me or telling me. He goes, hey, have you heard the one about? And I said, well, probably not. And he goes, hey, Herman, do you have any good liberal or OU jokes? Like, or Baptist jokes. That was another one he used to crack me up with. Oh, man. And the one that just, I've got so many stories I could tell you all. I don't know, we don't have much time, but this is a number of years ago. And we were having our Wednesday night crowd, and then we have a lot of kids on Wednesday nights coming through here. And this young lady comes up, and I think it may have been the first time she's here. She knew me. I really didn't know her. But she comes up and she goes, hey, there's a homeless guy out there. I went, okay. And she goes, I think he wants some food. Okay. And I mean, my mind did not register anything other than, well, where did we get a homeless guy at? We don't have any homeless people. So I got there, and Tim is standing in the hallway, and he has his all his mountain man stuff on, and he's standing there, and hadn't been shaven for a few days, weeks, I don't know. He was really scraggly. And I started dying laughing. And he goes, what? And I said, that lady thought you were homeless. And he goes, well, I haven't seen Julie yet. I may be, but I am hungry. Oh. I have to tell you, when I first came to church here, Tim, I wasn't quite sure what to make of Tim. Because what's Tim? And he's just, his jokes, and he never stops. But I soon found out that he loved Jesus, and he loved the church. Man, I'll miss that about him, because he had a genuine love for people. He had a genuine love for the church and Jesus, and he would do anything. I mean, he'd tell me, he goes, I'd ask him, I say, hey, and this is where I figured out what Tim could do and couldn't do. And I'd ask him something, he goes, well, Herman, I'll give it a try, but I don't think Julia let me. You were the scapegoat so many times, by the way. I don't think Julia let me do that, but I'll try it. But, people, I know that y'all know this, but he was a talker, and he would follow me down the hall. And I'd say, Tim, I got to lock up stuff and shut down. And I said, just walk and talk with me. And we would walk through the hall, and he'd tell me stories or whatever he's talking about at the time. And he'd go, well, I guess I better get around. Julie's waiting on me. And then he'd start another story. And I'm looking at this guy, and this is before I really knew their relationship. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, my goodness. He's just going. And so he'd continue talking. Then Julie, she'd come back in the church, and she'd go, Tim, I'm leaving you. He'd go, I guess it's time to go. And out he would go. But you know what I'm going to miss about Tim the most? The jokes are fun. But I'm going to miss my talks with him about the Bible. Because we had some great talks, especially when he was in my Sunday school class. He'd say, hey, I was reading this and we were studying Isaiah is what we were studying. And he devoured Isaiah like he does most books, I'm come to the conclusion. And then he went back and he started in Genesis, and he was reading some stuff. And every week he'd come in, and he just question after question after question. I'll never forget that. When I figured out he really loved history, I come in, I like history. I don't love history. I like history. But I come in, and I ask him some questions, and I'd read some books. And so I come in, and I was talking to him about that. And he's just telling me word for word. He'd read the books, and he'd know. I'm like, whoa. You really get into this, don't you? And he goes, oh, I love this stuff. I dig it. He goes, do you like World War II? And I said, yeah. And he goes, read some stuff and let's come talk. And I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss our discussions of history, but I'm going to miss my friend. And I think you can look around. He touched so many people's lives. And I know there are a number of kids that aren't here today that they're going to miss Tim. because Julie said it in her a bit. He treated everybody the same. Little, big, old, didn't matter. He teased you just the same, and he loved those little kids. He'd go down the hall, every one of them, talking to them, and they'd look at him and just smile. He will be missed dearly. Tim, I hope you break a leg in heaven, and I'm so happy for you right now. Would you all pray with me, please? God, sometimes we don't understand, but I know that you're sovereign, and I know that you know everything. Lord, and we're going to miss our friend. We're going to miss our family. Lord, but don't let him wear your out, because I know he's going to. Lord, I pray that you just